It all happened like I knew it would. A single drop of source magic. And, like flies to honey, the monsters swarmed. The rebel panicked. The carnage began. And the Magisters pointed their fingers at me. Just as I'd planned. I was shackled and collared, and sent to Fort Joy. I'd come here to kill Godwoken. But instead, I became part of their story.
So it wasn't a dream after all. Not a very chatty fellow, are you?
Ah, you're up. Yes. Looks like that collar fits you snugly enough. Nice bit of work, even if I do say so myself.
No lesions.
Fair. Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. Every dog has to get used to its leash. In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ship's manifest, and he's the chap in charge of the logs. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters. The good ship Merryweather. But you can stand at ease there, Private. You do realize you're not in any army here, don't you?
Index fingers pressed to her lips, she pauses a moment to give you a scrutinizing gander.
My word, you do seem a bit befuddled, don't you? Perhaps I was a bit too generous with that sedative. Oh well, I'm sure you'll soon gather your wits. Most likely. Eventually. In the meantime, all you need to know is that we're en route to Fort Joy. A new life awaits. And if you're a particularly good boy, perhaps a cure as well. An end to Source. For good.
Did the murderer
Good
take
gods,
him into this room?
There's been a murder here.
Was he already?
A young Magister stands pale and silent. Her knuckles whiten around her weapon as you pass. Behind the Magister, a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles. You can't make out a face amid the mess.
There's been a murder. A sorcerer was killed by one of your own. Lucky you were busy getting your collar fitted at the time, or you'd be a suspect like the rest of them. Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does. Aren't you enterprising? I'll let Waters tell you no herself. Go ahead. She with the body.
Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwoken followed the source that did this. Finn didn't see it like that. He was desperate for us to help him. Two things scared the living daylights out of him. His own shadow and his own source. We'll find out who did this. Speaking...
She looks up at you with a mirthless smile.
I was on duty in your room when the murder happened. You were asleep the whole time. Didn't even... You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Unless you can commit murder in your sleep, of course. Finn was killed by Source. If a Magister could do that, there wouldn't be a Magister. It looks more like a passenger managed to slip their collar. And the rest, well, you see the evidence in front of you. Listen, I could use someone to keep their ears open among the passengers. Sometimes they clam up in front of a uniform. Bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you. How about that? Thanks. I just want to catch whoever did this before they hurt anyone else.
Oh, everything's spick and span. Nothing left to do, really. Yes, this is a rare kind of magic. I'll need to write to headquarters right away.
Come on, please, Losa.
Be good, you scallywags.
Do you know Losa? She's a really good singer. I'm better though. Listen. La 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 la.
My mum doesn't like elves, but I have a secret. When I grow up, I'm gonna be an elf. She'll get used to it.
You look a little bit elfish. Maybe your daddy was an elf. My daddy's name is Frida. He's waiting for me at home. I'll go.
Be good, you scallywags.
Ah, there you are. Husband. Would you please tell this very charming gaggle of not-at-all brat-like babes that I am by no accounts this Losa woman, nor do I sing, in fact. I'm deathly allergical.
One of us would kill our own. They're picking us off one by one. Can we just skip to the part where...
The young woman seems about to raise her hand, but quickly remembers herself and nods pointedly at the excited children.
Who indeed? Why, my name is, Madame Josephine Gripples de Peeb.
The children break out into giggles.
I say, it is.
Her pinched face cracks into a great grin, and she shoos the children away from her with a laugh.
Yeah, okay, you found me out. Go on and get, and maybe I'll sing you something when I'm good and ready.
She turns to you, dark-eyed and dirty-haired, and smiles flatly.
Gotta keep ourselves entertained, haven't we? You presume right. Nope, trying not to find anything out either. Ignorance is bliss. The utterer, the better. Thanks, but I already belong to an elite and exclusive ship gang. We play ball every day after lunch. You're too soft for it. You take care, though.
Suddenly, her eyes cloud to an unnatural black. Greyish veins run down her face, and her mouth tightens into a cruel sneer. As quickly as they came, the clouds clear. She smiles as though no change came over her.
Good luck, Chief.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up.
Name? Well, you aren't here on my list. Scram, mate. We're trying to...
Insufferable, surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it
The
quiet.
elf is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He looks up, his big round eyes scanning your body, absorbing every detail. He reaches out and examines your face, tugging at your ears and prodding your nose.
Fascinating.
He sits back and returns to his book, flicking quickly from page to page, completely oblivious to your presence.
Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I don't intend to do away with the custom.
Ah, yes. The niceties. My name is Fane. I am a scholar from... Well, I am a seeker of knowledge. That is enough. It is pleasurable to meet you. Hardly. I've been reading this one for several minutes, and I have yet to find a single insight into the mysteries of the universe. It is simultaneously too detailed and insufficient. I know the beginning of this tale and the end, but I am rather missing the middle. Tell me, what do you know of our world's history? Oh, please. I have no interest in that. Your books are too full of it already. No, I want to know about the Celestial. I want to know about your gods. This text tells me that they created all creatures, but nothing of what came before. Where did these gods come from? Who are their people? Where are the others of their kind? Of course you don't have any useful information. Why did I expect anything else? Now please, run along. I have a world to decipher.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up?
A broad dwarf sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. His beard is a cascade of meticulous plaits, each one braided through with golden medallions. He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eyes.
Listen up, boy. You hear that? Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I
The
don't
ship,
intend to do away
of course.
A wave of sound washes over you. The unintelligible chatter of your shipmates, the groaning of wood from floor to ceiling, the boom, crash and crackle of waves around you, complaints from the sea itself.
And?
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard, Vic.
That right?
I always knew you'd
A common sort of sound, isn't it? Where there's talk, there's health. That's all you hear, though. Listen close. There now, just like that. Aha!
His eyes snap open as his countenance breaks into an expression of joy. One great paw claps you on the back. The other catches you before you lose your footing.
There. You heard it, didn't you? I knew it. I knew it. Aye, this is good news, boy. Good news.
There's nothing else I can make, Your Majesty.
It's the wheel. The wheel. Don't you see, you beautiful idiot? Squeaks whenever the helmsman jerks it clockwise, which means we're heading east. Burn my beard. That means if we've been traveling for... Yes, only 10.34 nautical miles to Fort Joy. No indeed, boy. But that ain't my final destination.
The dwarf leans back from the table and strokes his beard, gold medallions jingling merrily. His eyes... He continues stroking his beard, a beatific smile on his lips, and doesn't acknowledge you anymore.
I ain't saying nothing.
Bloody
Did you see the body? They ought to let you taste a bit. Maybe you'd find out who done it.
I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken pigs.
As the dead man's flesh slides down your throat, you feel his consciousness enter yours. His memories are yours to experience. You are Finn. Your heart is heavy. You know too much. It's all too much. You met him. A bright light blinds you, then fades. You feel a tremendous power in your hands, but they are shaking so hard you can barely use them. Suddenly you're on this very ship, crouched in a corner, hugging your knees. A figure approaches, an older woman. Her eyes are kind. She comes closer. She says she wants to talk. She reaches a hand toward you. You grasp it. The memories end. You are no longer Finn. You return to yourself with a jolt.
I know it. Would you put a knuckle in it?
Well, what have we here? A fresh face in this stale hell. Let's size you up, shall we? See if you'll do.
The lizard looks you up and down, like a farmer would a fetching horse. All of a sudden, he grips you firmly by the chin, with the intent of inspecting your teeth.
There's some discoloration, but I've seen worse. After all, one can't expect to find prime merchandise on a squalid little ship like this. Now then, to business. You will answer me 3 questions. The first one is this. Can you cook? Oh, goodness, no. And don't even mention the demon's testes that are turnips. On to the second question. Can you knit, weave? In short, tailor?
You've got this wolf on a leash now.
Yes, I can tell from your vagabond chic, a bag is as good as a shirt kind of style. I shouldn't be getting my hopes up. On then to my final query. Have you the ability to administer the upkeep of one's personal appearance? The delicate art of cosmetics is what I'm after.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on. One of us wouldn't kill our own.
The very basics, then. I suppose that's a start. So, 3 questions asked, 3 questions answered. Let's evaluate, shall we? As per your own testimony, you can groom, but you have the taste buds of a dung beetle and the fashion sense of a monkey in a clown suit. That won't do at all, see? I'm sad to say I must deny you the opportunity to be my slave. Ever so sorry. My slave, of course. Oh, but I see. Yes, I suppose it must take some time for the full extent of my disheartening refusal to sink in. Still, hone your skills, and one day you may just qualify for a position in a lesser household than mine. You keep dreaming, you hear?
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash.
I spent my life singing for my slaves to bring me my supper. Finer fare than boiled roots and rotten tubers, too. Meanwhile, the Magisters feast on honeyed meat behind this very wall. The indignity.
That right?
A scruffy man lounges against the wall with scarred arms folded. A sly smile playing on his face, he stares across at the Magister guarding him. Noticing you, he straightens and beckons for you to come closer.
Watch your back, new fish. There's a murderer on board, and I'd bet 3 months' pay it's this trampy fan.
Rolling his eyes at the Magister's warning, the man named Ifan beckons again. Ifan seems amused at the gesture, but he bats your arm down from the salute when the Magister sees what you're doing.
You served?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
I tried to do the same. A long, long time ago now. Long before Source became reason to leash a man like a dog.
He leans in and adjusts your collar with a sharp tug, balancing its weight so it no longer presses unpleasantly on your neck. He winked.
Pinches less that way, right?
Hocking a phlegmy gobbet in your general direction, the sullen Magister settles back to his task of glowering at Ifa. And now, you.
We used to know each other, more's the pity. I was his commander many, many, many moons ago. Isn't that right, Vic?
Standing far back from Ifan, the tight-faced Magister draws one finger across his throat in an elaborate fashion, but says nothing. Ifan grins, flashing pointed white teeth.
Same as he was at 14 years old. Only difference is somebody gave him a bigger sword and now he's Johnny Big Pants. Long story. Maybe I'll tell you about it in the Joy. Away from interested parties. No. The dead man, Finn, is it? I'd no business with him. And I wouldn't put a man down without good reason.
He glances over at Magister Victor, who's staring back at him with pointed intensity.
Damn shame sheer annoyance isn't reason enough. The Joy, I've heard a lot. Nothing good. No surprise there, since Bishop Alexander runs the show. Wonder if we'll get to meet the ringmaster himself. Not eager to bow before the great Bishop Alexander, son of the Divine himself. My sentiments exactly. But Vic here will blow a blood vessel if he hears you talking like that.
What are you conspiring about over there? You, elf, what's your name?
Oh, don't mind him. Vic's just got a bee in his bonnet. And that bee is me.
Name?
Magister Victor looks at you suspiciously, then scrawls something illegible down in a tiny notebook. He scowls at you as he stows the notebook back in his voluminous robes.
Away with you, at once.
Ifan performs an elaborate pantomime of keeping quiet, one finger in front of his lips as he leans back against the wall.
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard, Vic.
That right? I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Nest. Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves at a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with it.
You seem on edge, officer. What on earth is the matter? Murder most foul. They don't also suspect you all about it.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
An elf sits tucked away in a dark spot, lazily rolling dice onto the surface of a barrel. They sound like the dry cackling of an old witch.
Snake eyes.
She chuckles.
I bet that's just what they'll look like.
She shakes her head.
Game for one, I'm afraid. Rolling dice. Deciding fates. Don't worry, honey. It isn't yours.
She looks you up and down with the merest hint of a coy smile on her lips.
Never say never, though.
She eyes you suspiciously.
Not the future, no. But I can read the past in flesh. Just like you. And I'm quite good at it, too. I could lick your arm and tell you how you spent the night before last. Shall I?
She gives your arm a vigorous stroke of the tongue, efficient like a cat grooming.
You were in a cellar with other sorcerers. As everyone lay sleeping, you lay awake thinking of someone back home. A very special someone. You were reminiscing. About the things you used to do together. Of course it is. The truth's right there, skin deep. You may have to bite a bit deeper, though. Not every elf is as skilled in the art as I am. But anyway, don't you worry, darling. Your secret's safe with me. I don't lick and tell. A no doesn't become a yes over time, you know.
So, anything interesting for me? From his memories, you ate something off his corpse? Please, don't tamper with the evidence, especially not like that. As for the older woman, I'll have to check out the ship's log. If she's aboard, I haven't met her myself. Must avoid us Reds when she sees us. If you meet anyone like that aboard, maybe you could talk to her. Casually. See when she last spoke to Finn.
You think me mad? Mad? No. Insufferable.
It's a register, sir. Good, good. Magister Williams is just about done with the last passenger. You faring okay so far? I'm glad to hear it. You head on in now. Williams will get you sorted fast.
Classify this slop as food. I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plagues.
And if she tries to run, shoot to kill. You seem on edge, officer. What on earth is the matter?
Standing at the center of the room, you spot a sorcerer haughtily eyeing a pair of nervous-looking magisters. They keep their crossbow trained upon her as she's being interrogated by an officer.
So you admit it then? You murdered that poor fella?
Yes, I did. But of course, that was only the beginning.
She turns her head and looks you straight in the eye.
There are others whose lives must end.
Good God, the woman's mad. You there, sorcerer, go and fetch Magister Siwan. We need to do more than collar this maniac. We need to shackle her, hands and feet.
By all means, do as the officer says. But you had better hurry, because...
She reaches for her collar and simply removes it.
I'm just about to create a scene.
Subdue her, men, quickly! If she casts source, the Voidwoken will come. They'll end us all.
She smiles with wicked satisfaction.
Precisely.
What's happened?
What happened? Must have been the turnips. Water? Wine, for goodness sake. Oh.
The lizard's eyes close as he slips into unconsciousness. The dwarf lies in a heap on the floor, his great beard twisted and tangled around him. He is stock still. You can't see if he's living or dead. You hear a faint thud, thud, thud. He's alive, but only just. Ifan lies motionless, curled on the ground like an animal. Under his shaggy hair, you can see green eyes fluttering as if in a nightmare. A low whine escapes his lips. His eyes flicker open, but he doesn't register your presence at all.
Lucien. Lucien.
Ifan cries out, then his eyes fall closed again. No matter how much you shake him now, he cannot be roused.
No, not the final dark. Not yet.
It's no use. Your words do not seem to reach her.
The dice roll darkly. They're rolling for me.
The young woman lies in a heap on the floor. She's breathing normally, but her eyes are wide open, like those of a corpse. Dark, greyish-black clouds swirl through them. She doesn't stir.
Not long before this thing snaps into splinters. Damn, that doesn't bode well. Onwards and upwards.
You pass through the door and are suddenly face to face with an undead. His skull is bizarrely angular, and a glorious jewel sits in the middle of his forehead. The skeleton is quickly leafing through a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia, muttering to himself.
No, no, no! What damn fools record knowledge on a pulped tree? It catches fire, it turns into must when wet, it cannot even resist acid! No wonder they're so bloody ignorant.
The skeleton looks up and notices you for the first time.
Oh, it's you. Shouldn't you be running and screaming or some such?
The skeleton groans and looks back to his book, frantically flipping from page to page.
Yes, indeed. It's the look of someone that wants to read the bloody book he's holding. Now, if you're really quite finished, I believe you have lifeboats to flee to. Please, I was no more an elf than you are those rags you're wearing. I had a mask, rather ingeniously designed, which allowed me to take that primitive form. A mask that was stolen by that damned witch after her little scene. Still, she'll drown with the rest of these fools, and I will simply pluck my mask from her cold, dead hands. Indeed. Just as sensible as getting off a sinking ship and leaving a fellow to his business. I would say good day, but it seems quite likely that you're about to die a rather terrible death, so...
The skeleton shrugs casually and returns to his book.
Great gods, something's pounding on the hull.
The marking on the door was painted recently, judging from its pungent scent. You recognize the symbol immediately for what it is. A warning. You press your palm against the door to open it. The wood feels neither cold nor warm, but simply grey. The color drains from your hand, and you are left numb. It doesn't budge. The door groans open, but an ashen shadow clouds your mind.
Death fog. I need to get out of here. Now. Need to get off this wreck and quick.
By divine grace, what was...
He eyes the collar circling your neck and reaches a hand towards his blade.
Another sorcerer!
The Magister's companion doesn't blink, frozen in place at the sight of you.
Even if I knew how to rip that thing off, I wouldn't. Some crazy banshee comes screaming through, and now we got void bugs swarming up top. Sorcerer mutiny!
He whispers loudly to the other Magister.
Don't just cower there, Rix. Take out your blade.
Rix grabs his sword, which shakes in the rhythm of his trembling hand. The Magisters look to each other, then back to you, and unsheath their blades.
Your lies end here. Get him!
there's still a chance.
Go on, kid. Climb up there and get in the boat. Shut your trap, kid. Children and dwarfs first, just like the old stories say.
The dwarf yanks at one of the nearby ropes to no avail.
You said there were other people down there. We need to help them.
You see those tentacles, kid? It's time for getting the hell out of here.
Thank you! There's a ladder right over there. You can go straight down.
You're gonna be the death of us, you hear?
If you can walk, get yourself up the ladder. There's a boat. Wait. Voidwoken.
Beardless bugs won't sink the ship on my watch.
I've faced worse.
I thought Voidwoken was supposed to be scary.
They who are about to triumph salute you.
Let the games begin. Glory is mine!
Away! The sea's hungry. We don't have much time.
I hear something. It's Magister Siwan. The one who put on this damn collar.
Let's head above decks for some.
She tries to speak, but can only gape as she clutches her neck, trying to stem the bleeding of a gushing wound. With jagged movements, she raises her clenched fist and holds out a length of cloth soaked with some kind of strong-smelling tincture. Blood quickly soaks through the cloth. Magister Siwan's mouth opens and closes, her eyes wide in terror. It's working. The pressure is stemming the flow of blood. Siwan clutches your arm, her eyes locked with yours. Something within the ship snaps. The floorboards shudder. Siwan struggles to her feet, clinging to you tightly. The ship lets out a deep groan, then cracks.
It's ripping the ship apart. This is it. She's gone.
I have plans for you, child. Rise.
Honorable Dallas, we lost a ship sailing sorcerer prisoners to Fort Joy. We assume some escaped and broke their collars. Their vile magic lured the Voidwoken. All who were aboard are presumed dead. Yours faithfully into eternity, High Judge Oriven.